Welcome to another Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I'm your instructor, Richard Rost. Today we're going to talk about automating importing of data from Excel to Access. And now I've covered this before, but this is a specific situation where there might be some extra garbage in the spreadsheet. Sometimes people add stuff up top, extra rows with meaningless information, some summary rows on the bottom, right? That doesn't do you any good if you just want to get this data into Access and start working with it in your database. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to automate that import and clean up any unnecessary rows that are in that spreadsheet. Today's question comes from Brent in Midwest City, Oklahoma, one of my gold members. Brent says, I receive a daily quote report with multiple rows above the header and a totals row at the bottom that I don't need. Currently, I manually clean up the sheet before importing it into Access, but I'd like to automate this process. I've watched the import tutorials, but I'm not sure how to handle the unnecessary rows in an automated setup. Any guidance would be appreciated. So this was posted in the forums, and this is a sample of what Brent is dealing with. Here's his sheet right here. And you can see that there's just some nonsense up at the top. And I get stuff like this all the time. So he basically wants to delete these top rows up here that don't have normal data in them. Here's the rest of the data, right? And then at the bottom, it's not shown on here, but at the bottom, there's extra like summary rows at the bottom. So we want to get rid of all that stuff too. So I put together a spreadsheet from the last Middle-earth Contact trade show, where all the Middle-earth people get together. And I've got the contact date and time, customer notes, phone number, and so on. I've got some rows up at the top here that might contain meaningless information, right? And then down at the bottom, there's a count of how many records there are. And I don't need that stuff either. I just want the stuff in the middle. I just want the records because I want to pull this into my Access database and be able to work with it. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to import this data into Access, as I've showed you previously, and I'll talk about that video in just a minute. And then what we're going to do is we're going to delete everything up till and including that header row. I'll show you how to do that with a record set. We're going to loop through it. Then once that's done, then we can look and make sure these are all valid records with valid dates. And as soon as we find one that's not, we'll delete everything after that point as well. All right, so that's our algorithm. That's what we're going to do. Okay, now, what do you need to be able to get to this point? Well, first, make sure you watch this video. So I show you how to import a specific sheet from Microsoft Excel into your Access data. Watch the developer part of it because we're going to be using the same code today, the transfer spreadsheet code. This will, of course, require some knowledge of VBA. If you've never done any VBA programming before, go watch this video. It's about 20 minutes long. It'll teach you everything you need to know to get started. And also go watch my video on record sets. A record set is a programming tool that allows you to loop through the records in a table. So after we import them, we can then loop through and examine each record and decide what we want to do with it. Do we want to delete it? Do we want to keep it? And so on. So go watch this too. These are all free videos. They're on my website. They're on my YouTube channel. Go watch those first and then come on back. Okay, now before we get started, I do want to mention that there are some things you could do yourself to handle this manually, right? You could open up the sheet, come in here and delete these rows yourself, right? Or you could set up a named range, right? And then you could just import that specific name range. But what Brent wants to do is he doesn't want to have to mess with all this. And I totally get it. I've got some stuff myself that I have to import once in a while that I get from other vendors or whatever. And it's a pain to have to open up the file and make changes and then save it. And I look at it this way. If I can save myself a minute a day, right? Just 1 minute a day by having something automated, right, that'll save me a couple of hours of work over the course of a year. So it's worth it if you could spend, half an hour to an hour to automate this, and then it's done, right? So we're not going to do any manual manipulations in here. What we are going to assume, though, is we're going to assume that the first row here in the header in this data has that phrase in it, contact date. We're going to look for that, contact date. So if the person who controls this spreadsheet changes this, you may have to update your code, but in cases like this, most of the time, that doesn't happen often. Okay, so that's the only assumption we're going to make. All right, so let's start by getting the data into the database. This is the Tech Help free template. You can grab a free copy of this off my website if you want to. but this will work with just about any database. So I already have a button right here called Hello World, and we'll call this Import Excel Data. And I'm going to right-click, Build Event. That'll open up my code builder. Let me resize this here so it fits. Sometimes when I'm playing around off camera, I resize this thing to make it easier to work with. Okay. Status Hello World. Let's go status importing Excel sheet. All right. What's the command? We did it in the other video. Let's go over it again real quick. Do command dot transfer spreadsheet, that guy. All right. We are going to import, so AC import. We're going to hit comma again. That'll ignore that version type. The table name I'm going to put it in is Excel import T, comma. What's the file name? I'm going to go to the next line here, line continuation character. The file name, I'm just going to copy and paste it here. I've got it saved in my notes. I don't feel like going to get it again. It's right there. There's the file name. G, my drive spreadsheets, Middle Earth Trade Show.xlsx. And next, most importantly, has field names we're going to set to false. And that's it. Because it's going to have a header row, but we're going to delete it when it comes in. And again, this is dependent upon these columns not changing, okay? Usually when you get stuff like this from a vendor or whatever, you know, the layout of this doesn't change that often. It might. You might have to adjust this depending on if they make changes. Okay, so let's test this, make sure it works. I'm going to hit save. Come back out here. Let's close it and open it and hit the button. And there we go. Excel import T. And you can see now there's garbage in here. Now it automatically ignores any rows at the top that are completely blank. And it should also ignore any at the very bottom that are blank. So you get this one here is the last one that it imports. Okay, so there you go. So now we can see what we can do is we can loop through these records and delete everything up to and including that header row. We're going to look for contact date. Now, the very next thing that I want to do, though, is I want to either delete or clear this import T if it exists. Now, if you just run a delete query and delete these fields, if they do change this in the future and add another column, you'll get an F6 over here, and then that data won't fit in this table. So I recommend just delete the table, and then it'll recreate it when you run the import again. How do we do that? Well, let's go back to the code editor. Now, before we import, we're going to come up top here, and we're going to go status, deleting previous sheet, import table. All right, how do we do that? Well, it's going to be do command dot delete object. What is the object type? It's AC table, comma, what's the name? Excel import T. Okay, save it. And now if you run it, it'll delete that table and then import a fresh copy. Okay, otherwise it's going to actually keep importing on the bottom of the current one if the table already exists. Okay, now one problem that will happen is if you manually delete that because you know it's a temporary table, and then you try to run your code, it's going to say I can't find it. So we need a little tiny bit of error handling in here, right? We're just going to say, hey, this next line might throw an error. If it does, just ignore it. It's not important anyways. So we don't really need very robust error handling here. On error, resume next will work just fine. That says that if this guy errors out, ignore it. But make sure you turn that off when you're done, because I want to know if there's errors in any lines after that one, right? So here we're going to say on error, go to 0. That says turn the error handling back on, please. Okay? And of course, if you want to learn more about error handling, there's a video for you. All right, so now we've got that spreadsheet data in my temporary table. So what I want to do now is I want to look at this. Whoop, wrong table. I want to look. Oh, I deleted the table, didn't I? Click. Give me it again. There it is. All right, so I want to look at this. I'm going to say start at the first record. All right, and go down until you find that contact date header, right? So does this one have it? Nope, move to the next record. Does this one have it? Nope, move to the next record. Does this one have it? Nope, move to the next record, and so on until we find that guy. And all along the way, if that's not it, we're going to delete that row, delete that row, delete that row, delete that row, and then we'll be sitting with the first record of the data that we want. Okay, so that's our algorithm. All right, so how do we code that? Well, we'll need some variables. So we need rs as our record set. We're going to need to indicate whether or not we're done. All right, so done as a Boolean. And I like to put the values that I'm reading and evaluating in a variable too. So s as a string. Okay. And now we're going to status deleting header rows, right? And we're going to say set rs equals current db.open record set Excel import t. Okay. Now I always like to put the shell of it in here. I always like to say while not rs eof and then rs move next and then when and then my rs close and set rs equals nothing. I always put that stuff in when I'm working with record sets, which is the basic shell of the loop. Don't forget your move next, and don't forget to close things up at the end and clear your variables. Okay. But now I'm not just looping until the end of the record set. I'm not looping until the end of all of the records. There might be another condition in there where I'm done. And I'm done when I hit that contact date field, right? So first let's initialize done. We'll say done equals false. I'm not done yet. And I'm going to say while not RSEOF and not done. Both of those conditions have to be true. I have to be inside the record set loop still. I'm not at the end of the records. And I'm not done. Once I'm done, we're done. Finish. Right? I found the beginning of the actual records. All right. Let's read in that first field, which is going to be F1. Those are just field names that the import assigns. F1. We're looking for F1, and it's going to be equal to contact date. Okay. So right here, I'm going to say S equals RS F1. The problem is, though, if that's null, it's going to give you an error because S is a string, and you can't easily put nulls into strings like that. So we're going to use NZ and say if that is a null value, put an empty string in there. That just gets rid of that invalid use of null problem, right? Now I'm going to say if S equals contact date, then done equals true. I'm done, right? This will be the last row that I have to delete. And now we're going to say rs delete, that deletes the current record. rs move next is already there, and then it loops. Okay? So if you look at it with the algorithm here, let's take a look at the records. Let me try to get these side by side. Okay, so we're going to start off, done is false. All right, I'm sitting on this record right now. If RSEOF, nope, that's not true. Are we done? Nope, we're not done. All right, so S equals that first record. It's middle earth, so it's not contact date. We're going to delete that row and then move to the next row. Now, deleting records with a record set loop is a little different than you think of when you're deleting records in tables and queries and forms and stuff. This record, this row actually will stay there. It'll just say deleted. You still have to move the record set cursor to the next record. Okay? So you got to still delete it. Even if though you delete it, that doesn't advance the cursor. Okay, so we have to delete that record and advance the cursor to the next row. Okay, now we're not at the end of the record. We're not done. S is now null or empty string. Continue on, delete it, move to the next record. Same thing, move to the next record. Okay, now we're on contact date. So when we get to here now, is S contact date? Yeah, So done is now true. We've set done to true, but we're still going to delete and move next. So delete this, move next. I'm sitting here, but now when it loops, done is true, and it exits out. So this should have the effect of deleting all of this at the top of the table. All right, you ready to see it in action? All right, everything looks good. Debug, compile once in a while. All right, and hit it. Okay, and now let's take a peek. And there we go. And let's double check. Is Bilbo Baggins the first record? Yep. Bilbo, Frodo, Gollum, Aragorn. Okay, we're good. We got the right records in there. So next up, now we just have to go down this list and find out where the last valid record is and then delete everything after that. Very similar to what we just did with a slight twist. And we'll talk about that in tomorrow's video. So tune in tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. Or if you remember, where is it? There it is. If you remember, you can watch it right now because that's one of the benefits of being a member. But that's going to be your Tech Help video for today. I hope you learned something. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you tomorrow for part 2. A special thank you and shout out to our diamond sponsors. First, we have Juan Soto with Access Experts Software Solutions, manufacturing experts specializing in Access and SQL Server. Juan is a 13-time Microsoft Access MVP, You can check them out at accessexperts.com. Another shout out to Sammy Shama from Shama Consultancy. Sammy is a certified Microsoft Office specialist, and he not only offers Access application development, but he also provides one-on-one tutoring services. So if you need someone to hold your hand and help you with your Access project, Sammy is your guy. Check him out at shamaconsultancy.com. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and post any comments you may have below. I do try to read and answer all of them as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. Click the bell icon and select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Want to learn more? Click the Show More link below the video to find additional resources and links. YouTube does a pretty good job of hiding it. It's right down there. See this part of the description here, right? The name, the video's up here. There's a little Show More down there, right down the bottom. It's kind of hard to find. But once you click on that, you'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. And YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted like they used to do. But if you'd like to get an email every time I post a new video, click on the link to join my mailing list. And you can pick how frequently to get emails from me, either as they happen, daily, weekly, or monthly. Now, if you'd like to become a paid member of my channel and receive all kinds of awesome perks, click on the Join button. You'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks, including my extended cut videos, access to my code vault, lots of VBA source code in there, template downloads, and lots more. I'll talk more about these perks at the end of the video. Even if you don't want to commit to becoming a paid member and you'd like to help support my work, please feel free to click on the tip jar link. Your patronage is greatly appreciated and will help keep these free videos coming. I got some puppies to feed. But don't worry, no matter what, these free tech help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more, and they'll always be free. Now, if you really want to learn Access and you haven't tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access, including building forms, queries, reports, and more. It's over 4 hours long. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link down below you can click on. And did I mention it's completely free? The whole thing, free, 4 hours. Go watch it. And okay, a lot of you have told me that you don't have time to sit through a 4-hour course. So I do now have a quicker Microsoft Access for Beginners video that covers all the basics faster in about 30 minutes. And no, I didn't just put the video on fast forward. But I'll put a link to this down below as well. Now, if you like level 1, level 2 is just $1. That's it, $1. And that's another whole 90-minute course. Level 2 is also free for paid members of any level, including supporters. So if you're a member, go watch level 2. It's free. Okay, want to get your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my tech help page and send me your question there. Members get priority, of course. While I do try to read and respond to all of the comments posted below in the comments section, I only have time to go through them briefly a couple of times a month, and sometimes I get thousands of them. So send me your question here on the tech help page, and you'll have a better chance of getting it answered. And while you're on my website, be sure to stop by my Access forum. We've got lots of lively conversations about Microsoft Access and other topics. I have a fantastic group of moderators who help me answer questions. Shout out to Alex, Kevin, Scott, Adam, John, Dan, Juan, and everybody else who helps out on the site. I appreciate everything you do. I couldn't do it without you. Be sure to follow my blog, find me on Twitter, and of course on YouTube. Yeah, I'm on Facebook too, but I don't like Facebook. Don't get me started. Now, let's talk more about those member perks if you do decide to join as a paid member. There are different levels: silver, gold, platinum, and diamond. Silver members and up get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, one free beginner class every month, and some other perks. Gold members get all the previous perks, plus access to download the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos, plus access to my code vault where I keep tons of different functions that I use, the code that I build in most of the videos. You'll also get higher priority if you do submit any tech help questions. Now, answers are never guaranteed, but you do go higher in the list for me to read them. And if I like your question, you got a good chance of it being answered. You'll also get one free expert level class each month after you've finished the beginner series. Platinum members get all the previous perks plus even higher priority for tech help questions. You get access to all of my full beginner level courses for every subject. And I cover lots of different subjects like Word, Excel, VBA, ASP, lots of different stuff, not just Access. These are the full-length courses found on my website. You get all the beginner ones. In addition, once you finish the expert classes, you get one free developer class per month. So lots of training. And finally, you can also become a Diamond sponsor. You'll have your name or your company name listed on a sponsors page that will be shown on each video as long as you're a sponsor. You'll get a shout out in the video and a link to your website or product in the text below the video and on my website. So that's it. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by accesslearningzone.com. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something today. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you again soon.